everyone, and welcome back to Big Oggie's World. So, today is a Saturday and I've got a list of jobs to be doing. So I am going to prepare our tea in advance and then I can just whack it in the oven later. So I'm making a lasagna, but not a normal lasagna. I am going to do a mac and cheese lasagna. Now, the reason I'm doing that is a couple of things. First of all, I always think lasagnas are like a labour of love because you really have to sort of take your time with them. That's one thing. Our daughter has gone off to university, so this has just been her second week. So while she's away at uni, I've no doubt that she's eating not very particularly healthy food. So I wanted to make something nice for her, plus the fact she's got Fresher's flu, because of course she would have. So she's not feeling the greatest either. And she does love mac and cheese, and she also loves lasagna. So I'm going to combine the two and do a mac and cheese lasagna. The other reason, or one of the other reasons, is that recently when I've been making either bolognese or something along those lines, like a ragu, I think I've slipped, okay? I'm going to hold my hands up and I've slipped. And my onions have been too chunky and I've been a bit slapdash and it's not been the very best. So today I'm winding back to basics and I'm going to make this good and proper. So as you can see behind me, I have measured and weighed all of my ingredients. I've taken time and energy to prep my vegetables and things. So I'm going to show you how finely I've chopped my carrots and onions. Look at them little beauties. And carrots. Yes, it took me a while to do the carrots. But if you get everything prepped in advance, then you can just go with it. And if they're all around about the same sort of size, it's much better. Okay, so let's get going. First things first, a little bit of olive oil into your pan. Now, depending on what mince you're using, obviously is going to depend on what oil you're going to need. So I am using 12% fat mince. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I've not gone down to 5%. One is flavour, because as I keep telling you guys, fat is flavour. So what I tend to do with my mince is I practically almost dry fry it. So there's literally less than a tablespoon of oil in this pan. It's a good non-stick pan. And I'm going to fry my mince off in that. Now, as you can see, Sainsbury's have changed their packaging and it now comes in these backpack things, which I absolutely hate. So, give me a few minutes to bash this up and I'll be back. Okay, so that's all broken up and there is no more pink left in the meat. So now I'm going to add my pancetta, which again I've chopped finely. Break that up. It's smoked, so it's going to add a lovely flavour to your pasta sauce. Okay, so the meat is done for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slotted spoon and drain it and put the beef and pancetta into another dish for the time being. So I'm going to set my meat aside whilst I start the veg. So because my mince had 12% fat in, I have now got some grease in the bottom of the pan. So I'm not going to add any more oil to it. So into that is going to go our finely chopped onion. Some finely chopped celery. And our carrot. Now we're going to cook these for about 10 minutes until they start softening. Obviously that's going to be dependent on how finely you've chopped your veg, but keep an eye on it. You don't want it to sort of be fried and brown or anything like that. You just want it nice and softened, okay? We're not frying, we're just softening. So keep an eye, keep stirring, and I'll be back when mine is done. Okay, once your vegetables are softened, you are going to add your garlic. It's just 1 clove of garlic, and you can either chop it finely or grate it, whatever suits you. As you all know, if you've been here for a while, I use garlic paste because it doesn't require much thought and there is no waste. So that's great. So once you've got your garlic in, cook it for about another minute. Be very careful that your pan is not too high, because the last thing you want is to burn garlic. It goes very bitter and all the stuff that you've just done will be ruined if you just burn that garlic. Once you've cooked your garlic a little bit, you are going to return your meat to the pan. So in it goes. If there's any juices or anything in there, pour that in as well. Like so. Give it a good mix with your veg. Make sure you get into the corners, because you don't want your veg to burn. And then we are going to add 150 ml of red wine. Try and make sure it's half decent. I mean, it doesn't have to be top quality drinking, but it needs to taste okay, otherwise it's not going to cook okay either. So in goes your wine. And we're just going to leave that cook for a few minutes just to cook the alcohol out. Now, once you've cooked your wine out a bit, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to add a tin of chopped tomatoes, tomato puree, a teaspoon of sugar, and then our beef stock. Okay, so once you've got everything combined and you've made sure that your tomato puree is melted through, we're going to add a sprig of rosemary. Now if you want, you can actually take this fronds off of that and chop it and then leave it in. It's entirely up to you, but I'm going to put it in and then remove it later. So in goes my rosemary and a couple of bay leaves. Plonk them in. And then we're going to turn it down to a nice simmer, cover it and leave it to simmer away covered for about 30 minutes. I'm going to change this over onto my big hob and I'll be back after it's had 30 minutes. Okay, so my meat has had 30 minutes covered on the hob and it has reduced beautifully and is lovely and thick. Now we're going to give it another 10 to 15 minutes uncovered just to reduce a little bit more. I'm going to keep an eye on it because I don't want it to go too far, but just a tiny smidge. Okay, so our ragu is now complete and is cooling behind me, and it's time to crack on with the cheese sauce. So to start off with, get a pan, a reasonable size one, not too small. Put your butter in and we're going to heat the butter until it's completely melted and foaming, okay? So once your butter is hot and foamy, you're going to add your flour and stir it in. So we're going to keep stirring this now for a minute or so to allow the floury taste to cook out. Once it's had that little time, add in your English mustard. And stir that in. Now, we're going to remove the pan from the heat. And with a whisk, we're going to gradually add our milk. So don't put too much in at a time. If you put too much in at a time, you will end up with a lumpy sauce. Okay, once you've got all your milk in and it's all nicely combined and smooth, you can put your sauce back on the heat. We are going to add a little grate of nutmeg. And we're going to bring this sauce up to almost a boil, but not quite. And we're going to stir it for a good 5 minutes or so until the sauces are nicely thick and any of that horrible floury business is well cooked out. You must keep whisking, because as soon as the heat hits the bottom of the pan, it would start thickening the bottom, and if you take your whisk away for even a minute, you will end up with a lumpy sauce. Now, whilst I'm stirring this sauce, I have a large pan of water on behind me that I'm bringing to the boil, which I will cook the macaroni in. Nothing special, just ordinary salted water, but plenty of it. So my sauce has just come to a boil, so I've reduced the temperature slightly, and I'm going to keep whisking it now for a good 3 to 4 minutes. Don't leave it at this point because it will burn very quickly. So once your sauce has thickened, we are going to add our parmesan. In it all goes. And most of our cheddar. We just want a little bit left to sprinkle on the top. So, and then obviously you're going to melt your cheese into your cheese sauce. And that is your cheese sauce ready. So now we just wait for the macaroni. So when your water is boiling, add your pasta and cook as per the manufacturer's instructions. Okay, so once your pasta is cooked, drain it obviously, and then pour it into the cheese sauce. Give it a good mix so that it's all nicely covered. Okay, so you're going to need a pretty big dish. I don't have a dish big enough, so I'm going to use a roasting tin.
Yeah, we had a conflab, didn't we?
We did have a conflab.
Went for a bigger dish.
Absolutely. So now we just put things together. So into your dish, you pour in your ragu. Nice even layer. And then we're going to put our macaroni cheese on the top. So I'm going to blob it. And there you have the best of both worlds. You have some lovely beef ragu and a lovely macaroni cheese. Now, to finish off, we're going to sprinkle some mozzarella, grated mozzarella, all over the top. That's going to give us the stringy cheese pull. And then the last little bit of the mature cheddar that we saved from the cheese sauce to give it a little bit extra cheesy bite. So as you can see, that is a substantial amount of food that is going to feed a family of at least 6, possibly even more. I'm going to leave it at this point because I don't want it until this evening. So when I'm ready to bake it, I am going to preheat my oven to 180 if you have a fan oven, 200 if you don't have a fan oven, and gas mark 4. It's going to go in the oven then for about 35 minutes, 35 minutes. But remember, it's not been in the fridge, so you shouldn't need to sort of bake it for any longer. You're just wanting to warm it through and for the top to go nice and brown. So, hope you like that. If you do, give us a thumbs up. It's certainly a recipe that goes a long way. My daughter will take some of this back to university with her. You can freeze it if you need to. You can just portion it up and put it in your freezer, defrost it thoroughly, and then just reheat it whenever you need it. If you've not subscribed, please do. That would be really amazing. And thank you for coming along today for the ride. Please hit your notification bell so that you know when we are around. And we will see you all again really soon on Big Oggie World. Bye for now.